The Nigerian equities market is traded largely positive this week with buy interest in OANDO, FBN and UBA. Will the market close the month in the green? Ameerat Adamu, investment research analyst at ARM Securities, joins me for a weekly wrap of market movements and what to expect in the month of December. Ameerat, pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
It's been the last, I beg your pardon, the last trading day for the month of November, and I believe it's been an eventful month for the stock market. But talk to us what your highlights. Let's start with this week. The market has been mostly positive this week. What would you say have been the key drivers?
For this week, basically the key drivers of the positive sentiment seen in we saw positive sentiment on Tuesday, just a marginal 0.01%, okay, and yesterday a 0.55% gain. So this positive sentiment has been driven mostly by WAPCO. We've seen the share price jump from 38 naira to the 59 region, and we've seen buying interest in Zenith Bank as well as UBA, and the rally in flour mill also.
Right. So for Zenith Bank, would you say that that has been because of the subsidiary that the bank opened in Paris earlier this week? Do you think that the market investors were excited about that news?
That could possibly be one of the reasons, because that is showing that they have the future view of expanding and it's also based on positive investment, investors having positive sentiments in that stock. Seeing potentials and positioning themselves ahead of their full year results.
Right. And so for the month of November, who have been, talk to us about the winners and the losers, maybe 2 or 3 on each side.
Okay. As I mentioned, WAPCO.
WAPCO, right.
WAPCO.
What's been the key sentiment driving the stock? Is there any particular news sensitive?
It's just basically their 9 months results. They posted better earnings compared to Dang and Boa Cement.
Okay.
And so we believe investors are just positioning themselves with the view of them posting a much better full year results. And we also, as I said, UBA, Zenith, and flour mill. In terms of the laggers, we've seen sell-offs in or just say profit taking in Seplat as well as OANDO. Yeah,
and those are 2 stocks that have been prominent in the last couple of weeks, especially OANDO.
Yeah.
Talk to us about, other highlights, MPC this week. How much attention or how much impact did that actually have on the market? Or because I remember talking to the last market watcher who was here on Closing Bell, talked about the fact that investors have focused primarily on individual sectors and stocks because I was asking, are we seeing inflation? Are we seeing GDP growth? Are we seeing macroeconomic indicators impacting on buying decisions in the market? But he said, look, investors are focusing on what's happening with individual stocks and players in the market. Do you hold that view too?
Yeah, I also hold that view because we've seen the MPC hike rates by a total of about over 800 basis points. So basically, we expect investors to focus more on the banking stocks because they will benefits more from these high interest rate environments, and but in terms of the hike, we believe that it was expected because we saw inflation figure for October coming in higher than the
previously 33.8.
Yeah, yes. And we are going into the festive period, so obviously we expect inflation to still be on the high, so this hike was expected.
Right. So let's talk about December trading. Are we going to see? Is there going to be a Santa rally, or will investors just slightly pull back, or profit taking, of course, ahead of the holiday spending? What's the typical? In the usual market cycle from January, the market goes through different phases, but in December, what is the typical investment mindset?
It's basically quiet trading activities towards the by December, and we might see a lot of profit taking because of the festive period, and we also see some investors repositioning themselves ahead of the new year, the new trading period, as well as full year results.
Are there any stocks this year that have been sort of outliers that perhaps you didn't expect those stocks to rally this year, but have actually, performed exceptionally well? Any names come to mind?
WAPCO.
WAPCO still. Yeah. I mean, I would imagine that perhaps OANDO would also be.
Yeah.
OANDO would also be
OANDO,
on that list.
OANDO.
What about the, telecoms players? How would you rate their performance this year? Because I know that, obviously they had a lot of issues with, they're still, fighting for the cost-reflective tariffs in the sector, the government not allowing that, and all of that. And of course, the FX exposure.
Exactly. FL has been mostly trading flats. And for MTN, we've seen a lot, like a decline, mass decline in their share price. But this is, as you said, alluded to the issues they're going through, but we expect a bounce back.
Right. Let's talk about the macroeconomic environment. The reforms, are ongoing, and we've seen in macro indicators like inflation significantly impact on consumer companies, and of course, purchasing power of the average consumer continues to tank. So for the consumer guys, how would you rate their performance this year? And do you see a turnaround, even though a lot of them are still suffering from the FX exposure? Do you see them, maybe from a strategy point of view, turning things around in 2025?
With inflation still at large and the high interest rates. So the consumer guys, we expect them to bounce back, but maybe towards the second half of next year, because it's going to take a while for them to bounce back from the huge losses that most of them they are coming from. Especially, we've seen like players like Dank Sugar, they posted losses in terms of their 9 months, as well as other consumer goods.
Right. Well, that is definitely a sector that we are keeping our eye on, especially going forward. But thank you so much, Ameerat, for talking to us today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you
on the show.
for having me.
Ameerat Adamu, Investment Research Analyst at ARM Securities.